We're live from the res. Here with special guest, and may I say, here's Johnny. John. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually, I've been training for a marathon, so kinda. I've been telling, it's 2020, so I've been trying to get fit, feel good, try to, do the resolution thing, and so I was kind of jogging, kind of working out, kind of. Right. And then I had some runners in here recently. Had a Navajo Spirit runner, Simon, and I had the two cousins, Dominic Espinosa and Philip Espinosa, who's he's a mega runner, so he'd be running like 200 miles and stuff, right? So the one cousin, I was like, you know what, man? I'll go run a marathon with you, but I'll run the half. Like, all right.
I'll probably run a quarter of that and get tapped out.
Done. Well, no, his cousin came in the next week, and he's talking about running hundreds of miles, right? And I was like, he got me all pumped up. He's like, talking about marathons. I said, you know what? I'm going to run the full thing.
Like it's a fun thing to do.
They got me all hyped up. And so then after they left, I'm like, oh, man, I got to start training. The reality set in, and I'm like, oh, man. But, I feel good, but it's just, it's a work in progress, to say the least. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You got to do that. You got to take care of yourself, man.
Every day you got to better yourself. Every day.
Yeah, man. When I met you, I want to say the first time I met you, and I don't even know if you remember this, a long time back, you were still a kid. You were like in high school. You were tall as heck still. But I remember going to a youth conference, and I forgot I went there to speak or sing something, and you were there, and you came up, and we were just kind of chit-chatting because you jumped in. You were dancing and singing, and we were burdening it up. And you were talking about like giving back to your community and like trying to do what you could do and stuff.
Right.
And that was the first time I met you, and I was like, that's pretty cool, man.
And here I am.
Yeah, there you are.
The same thing.
Still trying to do the same thing, man. Put out the good word, kind of try to help build yourself and then help others too, man.
Yeah, it's always been a passion of mine since I was a little kid. Like I've always liked to help people and see them happy. You know what I mean? Like my life is to live for others, you know what I mean? And if everyone did that for each other, then, we'd be a lot happier, you know what I mean? Like, everyone take care of each other, just how we do it. Like, if it's your cousins over there, like, oh, you hungry, cousin? Come and eat,
Yeah.
But with anyone.
I think so. I think that's, like, traditional, too, Like, you go to someone's house, and, like, they give you something to drink, eat, or something like that, a lot of times. And then the more traditional homes, for sure,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you ever traveled along different areas, but you go to different tribes, man, they'll feed you till you can't eat no more.
For real.
Yeah, they're like, oh, so-and-so's in the town. They'll take you to someone's house, they give you a plate, you go to someone else's house, you never play, like, oh, man. Well, we just ate, and then it's like, now you're being disrespectful, so you got to eat.
Like, what's wrong with my food?
Yeah, you don't want my food? So you're eating like 4 or 5 things. But it does feel good to give like that, man. It feels good.
It always does, yeah.
Yeah, so... What are you doing up these days? What are you up to these days, I should say?
Just working and going to church, and honestly trying to better myself, and trying to help our people get stronger instead of breaking each other apart, because in the area I live, I just see a lot of darkness, a lot of our own family turning on family, and to me that hurts because that's my family, you know what I mean? But I want to see unity in every tribe and every tribe together. You know what I mean? All one.
Did you feel like you had that harmony as a kid, or did you have to find that kind of that belief or that, kind of seeing that? Because some people, they live that and they don't even see it. It's all around them. They don't see it.
Right. Well, when I was young, honestly, I didn't realize it or nothing. Like if people were a certain way, I just thought they were grouchy or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't really mind, but I lived in Oregon for a while, so I was off the reservation for a minute, and it was the best place to grow up, and I got to play in the river and climb the biggest tree I could find, and I met some medicine men actually out there, and they gave me some lava rocks. 3 different medicine men found me and gave them to my dad and said that I would need them later, and I realized that later was to make arrowheads with the kids, and I used to go to TANF out in San Jacinto.
Yeah.
And they would give us they would take us to classes where we make bows and arrows and all that stuff, and hand drums. I have my first hand drum. I gave it away, and I put my hand on there. Then I put my second oldest brother. No, I'm the oldest, but my little brother. But he's the second oldest boy, and it's his hand in there, and then my little brother Isaac's hand in there, and then my other little brother Nail's hand in there. You know what I mean? So just saying, like, it's gonna be passed down. You know what I mean? Like,
that's cool. I know. I saw you perusing the drum. Like, hey, look at this thing. Yeah. I didn't make this. This comes out of Canada. Mr. Crane up there in Saddle Lake Res, he gave me that years ago. It actually goes to their hand games. They play in their hand games. They do drums. We play peon down here. We don't do no drums. We just sing voice. But they do drums, and so it was his hand. He heard that I played, hand games, and so he goes, "Well, I'm gonna get you my set." So he gave me a set of his hand games. It came with a drum, and that's the home Saddle Lake. Shout out to Saddle Lake. That's the home to a lot of the guys from Northern Cree. They're over in LA.
Oh,
They were
yeah,
in LA a
Northern
while
Cree?
back for the Emmys and our Grammys.
Yeah, I love
all
Northern
that.
Cree.
Yeah.
I used to listen to their song "Facebook Drama." That song was good though. I mean, they sing with their hearts, and you could tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's a good vibe, man. You listen to that, and it does kind of get you popping. You know, you feel
Yeah.
good about yourself. You feel good, like you got energy and stuff. You know.
Throw my moccasins on and get ready for the day.
Yeah.
Get out the door.
It was cool to see all the images of them in LA though, because they had the full war bonnets on and all that stuff, and they came out for the Grammys the last couple of years actually, and rocked it. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't even think they come out this way, but that's cool. Shoot.
Yeah, it's a long ways for them.
They're from Canada, Northern Cree.
Yeah, Alberta, Canada. You go. I think it's like
Never guessed.
8 miles or 8 hours. 8 hours north of the California or the United States Canadian border is roughly what it takes to get there, if I'm not mistaken. I'm kind of going off my memory from when I was a little kid. We drive up that way. It's a long drive though. You just hit the Interstate 15 from San Diego straight up. You go through Pocatello, Idaho, and you go all the way up and you hit to Montana.
Oh,
and
so
then
you
you get there
that way.
Yeah, and you go right through, and then you enter Canada, Canada, right there at Sweetgrass, right there at Sweetgrass, Canada, by what is it, Shelby, Montana, and right into Sweetgrass, Canada, and then you go on up and in. But it's beautiful up there. A lot of lakes and rivers, and just in nature, man. And that's something that I like. I like being in the nature. I like being a little bit removed, because you get in the city, man, you go crazy.
Yeah,
it's craziness.
It's definitely a difference. Like, I used to live out in Banning,
Yeah.
and every day you hear the train go by. In Morongo right there.
Yeah.
You hear the train, and then like when I get to LJ, it's just so quiet. You can just hear everyone talking from like down the road, and you're like, "Who's that over there?" You know what I mean? Like they're all nosy over there because of that. But I think it's funny. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we mess around, we see our cousin down there, be like, "Who the heck's that guy over there?" You know what I mean? Or just teasing them.
Start throwing stuff at him.
Yeah.
So I know you've grown up like in different spots. You've already said like up, a
lot of different areas.
different areas. I know you're from TM, right?
Yeah.
So you get to travel around different areas, live in different areas. What are some things that you see that are common in all the reses?
In all the reses, definitely, I see a lot of family, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of family. So that's the start of unity. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
everyone's on their phones now. You know what I mean? There's not really
Yeah.
like no more conversation or none of that. You know what I mean? They just think because your cousin didn't like my post, then then we're gonna have a problem or something. But right now, where I'm living in San Diego, out in on the 3 reservations right there, what I see, you know what I mean? But I'm not saying to disrespect the reservation, but out of love, I see a lot of like res banging, I guess you could say, a lot of res banging, and the youngsters they need to unite. You know what I mean? Take care of each other. That's what we got to do. And not fall into that path like our elders did. Some of our elders took a bad path, and that's what they know. Like how I say, like, because I used to live in sin also. Like I used to be out there drinking, smoking. You know what I mean? Trying to just go do the most. You know what I mean? But never really touched anything. I never touched anything hardcore. Nothing like that. And
Maybe lucky for that, huh?
very blessed.
Because I see that, man. I see a lot of kids jump in stuff, and then they can live to kind of tell, live to fight another day, crazy. But it's like some of that stuff, you touch it, the fentanyl and stuff like that, and it's like it could be your first time taking it, and you're done. That's it. You're
I also
gone.
used to work in a farm. I used to do pharmacy tech.
Okay.
And I was going to school for that, and as I was going to school for that, I was working in dispensary, but I seen the difference. Pills are to kill. They really are to kill. They're not gonna help you. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna heal. I've seen so many people get healed from CBD and THC and prayer. You know what I mean? And prayer. People would come in working at the dispensary, and I pray for them and I talk to them. You know what I mean? And I try to help them, and they would listen. Some people wouldn't. Like there was a girl there who had no sense of smell, so she'd come in and she couldn't smell the herb that she wanted to smoke. So what I mean. So we tried everything we can, like we said, smell some alcohol and then take a whiff, you know what I mean? Or just somehow try to open her nostrils so she could breathe and smell it, but she couldn't. So she came in one day and I just had this heavy feeling on me, and I walked out there after she got some stuff and I said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" She's like, "Yes, please, like I would love that." And I went out there and prayed for her, and she started crying and stuff, and honestly, I was just doing a simple prayer, and just a simple prayer, and she came back and she could breathe, you know what I mean? She was healed from a prayer because she believed. She had no doubt. Yeah. And I told her she can't doubt, you have to believe this with your whole heart and it will happen for you. And that just shows like people that believe in their dreams, why does it come true? Because they never gave up on believing it,
Yeah.
And so that to me was amazing to witness that, you know, and then just seeing people come in sick and they take the medicines from the earth, you know what I mean, and prayer, they were healed. It just to me blew my mind, and
I think definitely it's a different vibe. It's totally different vibe when you look at people who are like on the pills and hooked on it. It's just so sad. You can see it draining, you know. But you don't like. We go to the more organic stuff, you know, the THC, the CBDs, and all that. You do see like a mentality of healing.
Yeah.
Like they want to heal. They don't want to take like. There's a lot of people who they are taking that and they will just say, "I'm taking this because I do not want to take pills." Like, you don't hear people say, I'm taking pills because I don't want to do that. They're just taking them to take them because the doctor told them or because they're hooked. But with a lot of the CBD, I mean, just things that I've heard anecdotally from people, they just say, like, I'll try the CBD because I don't want to take painkillers and get hooked. You know, or I don't want to take the painkillers because I've seen it, you know, destroy the organs of my, you know, my family or whatever it is. You know, I don't want to get back hooked on these things. And so they'll do the CBD route or they'll do the THC route or both, you know, or whatever it is.
Right.
But you do see like an element of healing where people want the healing, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever your attitude is on that or your belief on all of that kind of stuff is, I'll tell you do see that at least as that's the intent.
Right.
People want to heal themselves. You know?
Yeah, and sometimes it can heal you mentally or something physically, and you're in pain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like. I used to smoke a lot, you know. Every day was like my life, you know, until I found God, and you know what I mean.
Wake and bake,
yeah,
is that the thing?
Every day.
You're a big guy too. Does that mess up your like? Do you have to smoke more because you're bigger? Or how does that work?
I don't even know. I was just like, let's get high. You know what I mean? I was like, let's just smoke, you know. And anyone that would hang out with me, I'll be like, come on, let's smoke, you know. Let's try it out, you know. And one time I had this buddy, I smoked out with him, and he took like one good hit, and he went. Fell down on the floor. Done, huh? Yeah, I was like, whoa. I was like, you all right? You know, I flipped out because he started going pale.
Yeah.
And I started shaking. I was like, you okay? You okay?
What's that? Don't be a menace. When, have you ever seen that movie where Don't Be a Menace, South Central, or drinking juice and there's, give me some of that. He's like on the ground all dead. That's terrible, man. Yeah. So you had like a real addiction on that. That had to be expensive. How did you afford it? Did you grow your own stuff or? Were you bartering like the old ones? How do you afford all that? How does a person afford some of that?
I just knew people that grew it, you know, and I put in work for them. Like I'd buy some and they'd hook me up extra. I sell the extra and smoke whatever I had and whatever money I made extra, go take it back and get more. So that's how I supplied myself every day. Okay.
I always wonder that because like you see people who don't got no job or no money and they're not coming from wealth, but they still find a way to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you afford that? You know, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah. I had to learn that too. Like, weed was really my downfall in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Like it just limited my potential, you know. It limited my potential a lot because I just wanted to stay home and smoke, you know. But one thing I can say is I did graduate school and I did smoke weed, you know what I mean. So that I know it does not hinder you unless you let it, you know, unless you let it control you that way.
Yeah, it's definitely you see that like you know because people want to advocate for it and I get it because it is ridiculous that like that's kind of looked at as so it's demonized so much and like alcohol's not demonized, you know, as much. And we as Native peoples, alcohol's wrecked us way more than weed has, you know. And then like it's the pills,
trippy how you see like alcohol sold in like almost every corner by the reservations. You know what I mean? It's trippy.
Yeah, every res you roll in, right? There's a store outside, right outside where they sell it.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And that to me, like seeing that, like I see a lot of my family drink, you know what I mean. But then I'm not trying to judge them or nothing, you know what I mean? Like we all fall, you know what I mean? But I just see like it just drives them downhill, you know what I mean? Like they're angry, they're just angry, like, but they don't want to talk about nothing. They hide from the truth. Nobody likes to hear the truth, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how they'll hide it, you know? And maybe that's how I used to hide things with weed though, you know what I mean? Like we all pick and choose, and I used to hide things because I had a lot of family issues, like my parents divorced, and let me see, like my brothers and sisters, I never really got to see them. You know, they once like some stayed with my mom and some stayed with my dad, and I kind of had to choose for myself. What am I gonna do? Because my mom and dad weren't right themselves. You know what I mean? And so like I had to find something. Like what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? And I would just drink. Sometimes I'd meet up with my sister and we drink, and that's actually where I changed my life. I had a really nice car, a Jaguar, you know, 2003, stick shift, and the guy that I got it from, I traded my Nissan 350Z, and then he had put
you're rolling.
I was, and I was so ungrateful. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I was so ungrateful for all that stuff. You know, I just took it for granted, not knowing that God was really blessing me. You know, I was going to school. I had no money. I didn't work. My parents were helping me with a lot of things. And honestly, I didn't know how to be a real man. You know what I mean? Because my dad wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like my grandma had to take charge, and so I met this girl that I was talking to. And she introduced me to this guy named Ray, and her grandpa actually prophesied to me and told me that I was going to meet this angel named Gabriel, and he told me my future. He's like, how much you have in your bank account? I was like, what? He's all like, you won't even believe it. He's like, there's so many zeros in there. I was like, for real? Like, because I don't see that at all.
I know there's one. I know there's 1 zero in there.
At least. But it was crazy, and I ended up telling him what he told me, and so he's like, wow, you should come to our church. Like, there's this prophet there named Gabriel, you know what I mean? But when you're a prophet, it's like, what is that? You know what I mean? Who is that? And what a prophet is someone that God gives authority to bring, like, things, how do I say, like, to speak things into existence, but their walk is hard. You know what I mean? It's real hard. But these people actually walk the walk. You know what I mean? What they say, they walk it. And they constantly getting attacked. You know what I mean? They didn't choose that life. They didn't choose that, But I went to their church. It's called Genesis, the King's Church.
Mm-hmm.
And
what kind of faith would you say that is? Like, if you had to describe, that's what it's Christian. It's Christian.
Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a bishop there, but he started off as Catholic, but now he's a Christian. But Catholics are universal Christians.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know that. But I know that
Catholics are universal Christians.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Universal Christians, like all around Christian. Christian is you have a relationship with Christ.
Okay.
It's between you and him, nobody else, and he lives within us in our spirit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I always try to break this down to a lot of people, but it's kind of hard when you don't really know too much about it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for the mind to understand, but the spirit knows. We already know these things. We know good from bad, And so, like, growing up, I kind of learned these things. I listened to my elders a lot, because they are the ones that taught me how to be who I am. You know what I mean? Because I could have been a lot worse. I should have been dead. I should have been in jail, going to parties, and there were shootings and bullets flying right by my head, not even knowing, and they were just flying by my head. Why? Because God wanted me alive. One of those could have easily hit me,
Yeah.
The trip.
That's one thing when you get older, man. You really realize, you go, like, I'm real old now, but you know what I mean. But like, it's like you look back at certain situations you were in, or people you hung out with, or just whatever, and you just go, man, like, things could have gone really bad. Things could have gone bad. I could have got myself in a bad situation. Could wind up in jail. Could wind up dead. Kind of all those kind of things. And I think there is a sense of like, okay, I'm meant to be here. You know what I mean? There's a purpose.
Yeah.
There's a purpose for me to be here. When you're young, you don't see it because you're just living. You're just in the middle of it. You get older, you go, man, there's a purpose. And you're a little bit wiser, and you go, whatever that purpose is, like, I better find out. I better do something with it.
Yeah. And I want to go back. You said, like, you remember you told me if did I just feel it, or did I
yeah.
Honestly, I felt it. I always just knew that I wanted to do something great, and I was going to do something great in life, So now that I'm 20, I really want to pursue it, you know what I mean? Because I look past all the partying, all the girls, you know what I mean? Like, I had to look past that, because it's not all about that no more,
It's not?
No,
hey,
not no more.
Not no more.
No. Not for me anymore,
Okay. Is there a time in your life where, like, I was just, I always kind of bring this up, but it's kind of like, as natives, we had a lot of ceremonies for things. And some of the ceremonies we had, for like people coming together, having childbirth, and people, all kinds of things. But the puberty ceremony is a key ceremony that all our native peoples had, some form of that, for a young lady to turn into a woman, and a young man, a boy, to turn into a man, and it's something we don't really have too much anymore. And I feel like there's a lot of young men that are kind of struggling with that, because you get like 12, 13, you start to feel like you're a dude, you feel like you're a man.
Yeah.
You're not, but you feel like it, but there's changes going on. You're 14, 15, you start to really feel that. And it's somewhere like 17 to like 20, you kind of know that you're there, but there's nothing anymore to kind of bestow that upon you, or to say like, okay, step over this line, you're now there. Some people say it's when you're 18, but you see 18-year-olds who aren't really there yet. You see 16-year-olds that maybe are already there, Is it at your first job? Is it a time where maybe it's graduating high school? Maybe it's an epiphany, And I don't know that I don't know that I know the answer. Looking back to when I could say, like, when did I really become a man? I know that there were stages where I felt like when I moved out on my own, when I got my first degree, or when I had a child, or some of these things really matured the heck out of me, right? some hardships and things like that. But it's like, when was I really a man to take care of myself and take care of others? It's hard to like, I don't know. I don't know the answer for that, but I feel like we don't have that anymore.
Right.
And
And that's when we should look to our elders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, we gotta look to them because they know they've been through so much things. Like, I like to use my grandma's example because she did raise me, you know what I mean? But she had a lot of knowledge because she really went through the ruts, you know what I mean? Her mom used to abuse her, hit her with frying pans, crack bottles on her head, and they put her in juvie because she had nowhere to go. But she was there for she wasn't there for a bad reason, but they took care of her there, you know.
It's like a way to defend her was to send her to juvie. Wow.
Yeah, she used to have to sleep in the streets, you know, and
Sure.
she got adopted, and that lady was a Christian, and she changed her life, you know, and that lady taught her how to clean, how to cook, how to be a proper woman, you know, but during her experiences, she just seen things that I was doing that she did, you know what I mean? So it corrected me, and that correction, I like to say a rebuke, and it corrected me from what I was doing, you know? So like, say I wanted to go out to that party, I honestly feel like God was speaking through her because she'd be like, don't go, you know what I mean? Like, something's gonna happen, and I didn't listen. I'd go, and I'd be there drinking with my friends, and then all of a sudden there's someone there like getting all crazy, and starts to get crazy with me, trying to fight me, and then all of a sudden there's a big old fight all around. I'm like, dang, why didn't I listen to her? You know what I mean? That's how I started to know, like, I need to listen to her. You know, she was placed in my life to help me. And she'd always tell me, like, don't get baptized yet, you know what I mean? Because you're going to want to go party, you're going to want to do all that. But when I started going to church, I just wanted to get closer to God, you know, and because I just felt like he was there, you know what I mean? I prayed to him, and I did try to look for other religions and like Buddha and all that, but nothing worked for me. Not what I was looking for. Like, I understood things, I understood good things, but I wanted something more, you know, something more, and I just couldn't get there. I couldn't find it anywhere until I found God. I read it in the Bible, and it teaches these spiritual teachings that honestly our people used to do.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, do you feel like I know, like, right now it's hard, you know, because people think back to Christianity, and a lot of Native peoples go right to, like, well, those are the ones that came and, like, killed off all our people, the colonization part, but then the genocidal part, you know, like, when the early Christians, the Spanish, showed up to those islands, you know, off the coast of South America, over by Cuba, all those areas, they were just, like, doing all of the crazy stuff they were doing in Europe. Real quick history, you know, you have the Moors pushing across into Europe, northern Africa, and so they're in Spain. They're trying to kick out all Moorish culture, and part of that is also pushing out all the Jewish people. And so they were killing all these people. They had the Inquisition, and part of the Inquisition was to say, "Are you a Christian or are you not?" You know, and so if you weren't Christian, they would cut your hand off and burn you and torture you. And this is Europe. You're doing all of these crazy things. And then when the Inquisition, at the end of that, you know, that time period, I mean, people in Europe and that part of Europe and Spain, that's what they had become accustomed to, was just murdering and just genocidal acts on their own people, essentially, to try to push out those other cultures. And so when they come sailing over to this side of the world, it was no thing to take these natives who were not Christian and say, you better be Christian or we're going to Christianize you. And then that meant to, you know, you're burning, 13 people so you could do the 12 apostles and one representing Christ. You know, they do these weird... Nowadays, Christians are looking at it and be like, wait, what? You know, and it's like if you teach that to Christians, they'll stop and go, wait a minute, we didn't do that. You have to, like, show them. They're like, wow, that happened?
Yeah.
But there's definitely there's a line there where it's like, you're not those people. You didn't do those things. Your faith now didn't do that back then.
Right.
But back then it did happen.
Right.
And that, you know, that cross, that culture as it came over was what waged war on indigenous people here throughout the whole hemisphere. And it's hard for a lot of natives to get over that, to kind of balance that. And especially now in an era when people are becoming woke, you know, quote unquote, or they're finding their indigenousness. Some people are doing the 23andMe. I'm native, I'm indigenous, I'm from this people. And they're searching out, like, their traditional knowledge, is searching out, you know, what's the indigenous way to do things and believe and philosophies. And so it's kind of like in people's mind sometimes a duality of like, well, if this is indigenousness is right, then Christianity must be wrong, you know, and it must be evil. And then they start drawing into the history that they did all these bad things. The mission used to take the Indians and whip them and put them in chains and kill them, and all of these just really bad bad things.
Yeah.
But, for me, like I hear that, and I'll get on that too. I even have a shirt of them dragging out the father from the Spanish mission, and they killed him, and they burnt down the mission in San Diego. They did that because they were raping the women, the Kumeyaay women, and I have a shirt that shows that. But at the same time, I have that. But then I was also raised in a community here where when people pass away, we call upon the priest, the Catholic priest, to come in and pray for the bodies to help us bless. We're blessing and praying over them with our songs and our prayer, but they're doing it also with their Catholic prayer. I grew up in a sweat lodge, and the Catholic priest here, he used to come down. Him and may rest in peace now, Father Allen was a nice guy. Him and Brother Ed, who's still around, they'd come down and sweat with us, man. Wow. They'd be in the sweat lodge, yeah. So my relationship with the priest was always really positive, really nice guys. And believe it or not, we'd be singing Bird, and there was times that they'd come down and even, they asked our bird leaders at that time, can I sing with you guys? And they'd be at the end singing. Oh, here at Viejo's church, man, for like right now, if you look up, there's the statues, and they put like a sage bundle in one of the, instead of a cross, or they put the cross, but they put a sage bundle next to it, I think. And so it looks like he's holding up sage. They just, our church, the next church over, beaded crowns on them and stuff. It's just like trying to give back a respect, Yeah. But like I said, I grew up with them being very much respected, that process being respected. My grandparents, like most of the grandparents in this community, they all went to that church. It was their social spot. They believed and they prayed. And so, sometimes it can be hard to sit there and go like, well, these people killed us and they did all this stuff. But at the same time, you're like, well, they pray with us now and we're part of that. Like, how do you mesh that? And for me, I have to get away from all the history and all of the symbolages and all of that. I have to just go, well, what's the purpose? What's the point? Well, I do know, me as an individual, I feel better about things, when I pray. You know what I mean? I feel like I believe in a creator. I believe that prayer is powerful. I believe in respect,
Right.
And I believe in treating each other good and kind, and all of these things you'll see in our traditional ways of beliefs, and I believe you see those in Christianity too. So how do you feel about that, man? Do you feel like, is it hard sometimes to be a Christian thinking about that, or do you see it kind of merge and you go, this is all kind of the same?
Yeah, well,
or do you not even think about it?
Honestly, through my life of living the way I did, I should have been dead, and like, you know what I mean. I told myself that I was my grandpa's a medicine man, right? And I learned a lot about that, you know what I mean? It is sad what the Catholics did, it is very sad. And I don't think that was honestly from God, because that was all man, you know what I mean? Like, if that was God, he wouldn't let that happen, you know what I mean? He's not that way, and what I've been learning, he's been merciful on me, you know what I mean? Like, in a lot of ways. And I think sage is to clear bad spirits and bad energy, because I believe that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because the prophet over there, he's part native too, actually. Yeah. You're gonna laugh at me. What are you gonna say? What do you think I'm gonna say who he is?
The Cherokee?
Yeah.
On his grandmother's side.
But they're good people.
I know it's messed up when you meet a real Cherokee and they're like, I'm Cherokee, and you're like, but they really are.
Yeah, they really are.
I know a person, every time I bring that up, or they bring it up, they're real quick to pull out their card. See, it's like, you don't have to. I believe you. I believe you. But everybody laughs at them, so they're always pulling it out. It's Cherokee. Yeah.
But like, I think it does merge, I feel like it does merge in a way. I mean, I'm native and I found these things. I would pray and my prayers would be answered, But like, who exactly are we praying to? Who exactly are we praying to back then? And I don't know. I'm tripping. Hold on.
It's kind of hard to. It is hard to kind of like. What gets real weird when we start thinking about this stuff is, they ever hear the idea that we're like, this is all a simulation? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, see,
that'll bust your brain up, dude. You start thinking about some of these huge concepts.
See, all that's a distraction.
It probably is. It'll distract me for like hours. I'll be like, man, this is some weird coincidence type stuff. But like, people say, well, it's computer simulation. That's why, you're seeing repetitive things because the computer can't keep. I don't know, man. To me, sometimes when I go through and I'm looking at a spot where it's like, I feel like I've been here, I dreamt it or something, I always just think to myself, like, well, I'm probably meant to be here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm supposed to be here. And I know I've had a lot of those experiences. I just think I'm kind of meant to do these things maybe, or whatever. And I know like a lot of the native-minded people will say, well, you're always guided by the Creator and all of these things.
You'll
But
feel it within
within
yourself.
you.
Yeah, you can't really look for it like that. You'll feel it within. You'll know when it's right. You know what I mean? And you'll know when it's you'll feel it. Especially natives, we're gifted like that. When we feel something wrong, that gut feeling, that's real. We control the mind, will, and emotions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is the Holy Spirit, which is a gift from God to guide us. And
so you look better when you do that than I do, because I gotta feel your belly. Hey, that's my Holy Spirit.
Boy too.
Yeah.
I got a belly. I'm just hiding it.
Sucking it in while you're doing the Holy Spirit. But no, that's an example though, like because like you do see Christians believe the same thing. So it's kind of like, well, how is it like where if they're so opposite, why are they saying a lot of the same things? I noticed that at funerals. I go to funerals and I'll explain like what our songs are. And I'll
what
we're doing
like songs to Him. They're songs to God, honestly, and it's in our own language. Yeah. And before, actually, I've learned this too, that the people that were like out in Egypt and stuff, when they came across, they came with rattles. They came with but there was like shells in a little bag, and that's how they would.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and that was like the rattles back then. He would be able to tell you better, but I didn't really listen to him well, but I know that's who he was talking about. Like it says in the Bible how they came across and that they were singing with rattles.
That's interesting. That'd be an interesting way to make a musical instrument like that with a bag of shells. Bet you it would sound pretty similar.
I'm pretty sure it did.
But yeah, I like I'm explaining it, and then I'll hear the priest do his thing and kind of explain. They do their thing, and I'm sitting there and I've many times sat there and just listen and go, holy smokes, dude, we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it in different ways. Like we're saying the exact same thing about the ascension and about belief and and then I read a lot of other religious stuff just to kind of open my mind. I'm always interested. I'm one of those dudes that, and I recommend people do this too, is like get up in the morning and do your positive affirmations. I'll go Google searching some quotes and go down that rabbit hole for 10 minutes maybe, just reading some positive stuff, just get my brain clicking. I do that at night sometimes, or sometimes I'm bored, I'll be reading quotes from Buddha, Rumi, or all these different people from different parts of the world, and Tupac, hey, realize, recognize, realize. But, I'm reading all these things, and I like it because it stimulates my brain. But the more I do that, the more I go, man, it don't matter if you're an African poet or if you're, from the Far East or you're from one of the tribes or, it's like a lot of the, what's being said is the same thing. It's like the human condition.
Yeah.
We're not that far apart. At the end of the day, like, you could be different tribes, you could be different nations, you could be different quote unquote races and all that, but it's kind of like you do kind of see that there's like that. I'm gonna sound real hippie when I say this, but there's the human race. You know what I mean? We all have very similar challenges, and it's like to navigate our way through that. I feel like, it's kind of there's a lot of similarities there. Like number one, don't be a punk to people. You know what I mean? Like be respectful. You're probably gonna be better off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Treat people as you want to be treated. You know what I mean?
Right.
They call that the golden rule, right?
Yeah, the golden rule.
Yeah, and I just call that don't be a punk, And
that's a good way to put it, though.
But no, it's true, though. It's like the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated, I think that's a real thing. But I see that in all of that,
Mm-hmm.
And I see it, too, like if I travel from other tribes. If I'm here, we have our ways, and I go to other tribes, and, I give them the respect, and they have their protocols. And, whether it's like I'm part of Apache as well, and I've gone out to Canada and the Dakotas, different places, they all have their protocols, but there's always a lot of things that are so similar, the respect that you give and the preparation and this,
right.
And I see that with Christianity too,
Yeah, and like how I know it's real too is like I read the Bible, you know what I mean? I'm like, what is all this about they say, you know what I mean? What is this? And I read it, and you really can't find no fault in the word. Like it's truth. There is no confusion in it, you know what I mean? And if you don't understand it, your heart's not open to it.
Yeah.
And I would read it, and I would pray to God and ask Him, like, hey, send me to a verse I need to read, you know what I mean? And it'll pop up. And I actually have one for us that I was just listening to the Bible. And
so back in my day, long time ago, a lot of guys that were Christian would actually walk around with the old school Bible, which is cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got the little paper.
I have mine in the car. I just left it.
But I feel like in 2020, like it's probably the cell phones what people are doing, right? For verses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. There's do you have like an app, or you just gotta go on Google and scope it out?
I just go on the Bible app.
The Bible app, yeah, that's cool. Okay, I don't know that app, but I imagine there's an app for all that kind of stuff, huh?
Excuse me, sorry.
There's probably an app for all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's different ways to go about it, but I learned a lot of things at church, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I'm really not saying right now, but because it's hard to break it down. You know what
Sure,
I mean?
sure.
I could sit here for an hour and break one little thing down.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's your belief system, man. You know, no one, you're not that simple. You're not that shallow. But you know what I mean? Like, you got a deepness and you believe in it. It's going to be a lot. What's your Bible quote, man?
All right, it says, if you died with Christ to the elements of this world, why do we live as if you still belong to the world? Why do you submit to regulations? Don't handle, don't taste, don't touch. All these regulations refer to what? Destined to perish by being used up. They are human commands and doctrines. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of that was forced on us. You know what I mean? A lot of doctrines, and our people forgot. You know, watch, hold on, but I had another one.
And a lot of that stuff's like, I always feel like it's language. You know, like it's vocab. It's you know, you could say doctrine, you could say rules, guidelines, protocols. You know, but it's like bottom line. You know, it's like things you're probably supposed to do.
Yeah, and here's another one. It says, be careful that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deceit based on human traditions, based on the elements of the world rather than Christ. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And our people do that. We worship, the coyote or the bear, you know what I mean? But God created all that. In the Bible, it's a pretty strong way to go about it, but it says, in the beginning, God created everything, you know? And that's a pretty strong way to go about it, you know, to start off in that book, you know, in the book. And it just trips me out because being native, I had a lot of confusion because I was just like, no, that's wrong, you know what I mean? But somehow, little by little, I kept looking for him more and more and more. And like how I said, every prayer I've ever prayed has been answered. And I could pray to anything else or someone else, and it won't be answered, you know? And that's how you could test it. Try it. Pray for something, you know, and ask them and watch how you receive it if you believe it.
Yeah. And it's probably got to be something good, too, right? You can't be praying for the... You can't be praying, you know, the Chargers going to come back to San Diego and win the Super Bowl.
I wish.
I prayed. Trust me, that didn't work. I don't know what religion or faith I got to go do, but that didn't work. But I believe in that, man. I mean, I believe that, you know, prayer, like I said earlier, prayer is real strong, and I believe all of that. And I don't know, I was just, being the way I was raised is that, you know, you have that respect for others too, you know, if that's what works for them, that's what they believe in. Yeah. And that's cool, you know, I ain't gonna go bash nobody and be like, oh, you're all messed up, you're a Christian or you're a this or that or whatever. Yeah. Because, you know, I think everybody walks their own walk and has their experiences, and if it's helping them, you know, I mean, what's wrong with that? Right. And I think sometimes it could be beneficial for people if they haven't given it a shot, you know, if like I was saying, there's all that history and people kind of get caught up in that, oh, it's terrible. Maybe it's good for them. Maybe they should give it a shot. Maybe it would really positively affect their life.
It changed mine. Know? I'll tell you that. Like, I went from selling weed to giving that all up, you know, to do something else. And God gave me something better, you know what I mean? That life, shoot, my own family robbed me for like $1,500 worth of weed. And it could kind of hurt, you know? But it scared me to a point where, like, all right, I need to, like, change this, you know what I mean? This ain't right. Yeah. And all good things come from heaven, you know what I mean? And if anything's bad, that's not God, you know? God's not like that, you know? Yeah.
So what does the lifestyle look like for someone in your faith? Like, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for everyone, or is it kind of like it's independent, or like
unity?
It's like, do you go to church like every once a week, or how does that? Like, I'm always thinking like church on Sunday, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, that's the kind of the Catholic thing, you know. And then there's like the holy seasons that they do things. What do you guys do?
Catholics are religious. And religion's what killed Jesus.
Okay.
And so, like, if you feel like, oh, I'm just doing this because it's part of what they do, no, it's not right. You know what I mean? The Spirit, it just goes, it flows as one, you know, because we're in the body of Christ, and that's how we get into heaven, because he died for our sins, because of that. And so because of that, he walked holy, he walked pure, he didn't sin. If he could do that, we could do it, you know what I mean? But you have to lose your old self and not want things that, I would say, like, I like to say that the flesh wants, you know what I mean? Because that's a distraction from what's really in front of us, you know what I mean? Like, praying for people and telling them things that I don't even think I'm making an impact on them, but I really was. And then I didn't even know. I was just speaking, you know what I mean? But witnessing that and just seeing how people's lives are getting changed just from telling them the word, you know what I mean?
So you kind of pursue more of almost a spiritual way of looking at it versus the religious side of it.
Yeah.
Because I know that's like that's something that people kind of always put on the church too. It's like, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I always hear people kind of say that. and they kind of get turned off by the idea that you have to do all these certain kind of things within the faith or the religion of Christianity or whatever religion,
Yeah.
and they want to kind of have it be more free form, like, not necessarily have to go to a special building, maybe be able to go on a hike and pray or go
that's
be with,
what Jesus
whatever.
Did. He go out to the forest and pray by himself, and it says to do that.
And I believe that. I mean, I tell people all the time, whatever faith you are, go out. I always tell them, like, you're feeling bad, go for a hike, man. I swear it's powerful. Let's go out there, get some fresh air, connect with nature. You said earlier, like, that us natives seem to have like a special strong connection. Yeah. I think it's because we're still stepping on the soil of our ancestors. I really believe that. I think that there's a connection there, and that we're strong. We have that strong connection.
Yeah.
Whereas you get transplanted outside of the world, I don't know that we would still. Maybe we would have that connection, but
that's why we're gifted, because of what happened to us. So God blessed us with medicines, and gifted us. Think about it. We're very gifted. We know things that probably a lot of people won't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, indigenous knowledge is strong, man.
Yeah.
So your faith, do they are they kind of harsh on? Do they allow people to drink? Do they allow people to smoke?
I like to use my buddy Ray's example. This is a guy I work with, and he used to come to church every Sunday drunk, and then after he was done with church, he'd leave. But now he don't even drink because he'd pray, and God helped him get out of that. But our bishop, he died. This is what made me like trip out and believe even more. He died, and it's in they have doctrine of it. Mm-hmm. He died and came back to life. He was dead on the slab for 2 hours, and his son Gabriel prayed and told the doctor said that if he came back to life, he was going to be a vegetable and he won't be able to live no more. Like he's not going to live a normal life.
His brain function?
Yeah, he was done. And he said, that's a lie. He said, that's a lie. Can you imagine telling a doctor that it's a lie, that your dad's dead on the slab? Don't mean to say it like that, Bishop, if you're listening.
But yeah.
You know what I mean? And you tell them that's a lie, and he's been dead for 2 hours, and he's telling the doctor that's a lie. He's going to get back up. He's going to walk out this hospital. And he did. He went up to heaven, and he said that the Lord told him that he was going to do something that no one else could do, just a couple words, and then boom, he was back, and he was alive with about, I think he said like about 5 or 10% of his heart working, and now he's at 50, but you can't even live with that much of your heart working.
Yeah.
And he had gangrene on his foot, for example. He just got over this one, and just last year he fought it for like a whole year. He had gangrene in his foot, and his doctor told him that he wanted to cut off his foot. And so he told him that, no, Jesus is in my bones, like, you're not going to cut my foot off. And we prayed for him, and he prayed, and he couldn't even walk, And there's more to his testimony. Oh my gosh, this guy has been through so much, and he died. He literally died and fights like a lot of diseases, but he's still walking, and all he has to do to show us that he's a miracle, he's standing. He fought gangrene, he don't have it no more in his foot.
That's gnarly.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't say that.
Yeah. No, you see that, it's with strong believers of a lot of faiths. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, you can pray and do all this stuff, but there's never any proof of anything. Then it's kind of hard to keep anybody in that religion or that fellowship or that way. You kind of do have to have some kind of examples of that it works. To
me, make it work. I guess. Proved to me, like, if God could do that for him, he was supposed to be in the NBA. He's like almost 7 feet tall, like 6'8", I think.
Oh dang!
And he
taller than you.
Yeah, he was gonna go to the NBA, and he was supposed to be in there. And the Lord told him that either you will go to the NBA, you will make it, but you'll lose your wife. You know what I mean? And that time he really liked that girl, but that girl didn't like him. But they were together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they ended up being really perfect together. Miss Cookie, she's so nice. She's a prophetess, and oh my gosh, every time she speaks, it's just like, whoa.
So where do you guys meet? Where do you guys do your stuff at?
Out in Oceanside, the Star Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Sundays 9:00, and then Thursdays we have a smaller church.
Cool.
But yeah, and oh man, one time I hit the altar, and this guy named Justin told me every Sunday hit the altar. You know what I mean? I hit the altar, and I started praying and just pouring my heart out to God, and then all of a sudden I felt this tingling all through my whole body, so heavy. It felt like I couldn't even move. It was just so heavy. And I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? It was a spirit. That's the Holy Spirit. It just gives me so much joy because I've never felt anything like that in my life. You know what I mean? But as younger, I knew God was real, and because demons would attack me in my sleep every night. I was consistently being attacked, and I would tell my mom and tell my dad, and they would just tell me go pray, and I'd pray, but still, you know what I mean? I'd be attacked. And one time I was laying in the bed, I didn't fall asleep. I was still up, and I was praying, and I felt numbness all through my body, but it wasn't like how I felt at church. It was just numb, and I felt, sleep paralysis, like that. It felt like that.
I've never had that, but I see the memes and stuff on Facebook. It sounds gnarly, like you just crazy. So you've had that, you've experienced that.
A lot of that, and I couldn't move or nothing, and I just remember seeing these two guys, and I was mad at my mom. I was really mad at my mom, and I just thought hateful things. I'm being honest. I thought hateful things against my mom, and I was praying to God, and all of a sudden I see two people. It was two demons. And I seen one with a horn swirled, and the other one had like sharp teeth. It was ugly, and they were in the corner, and I couldn't move. And they were I sounded like my dad in a way. Like he has like a very firm, like I don't know, like a mean voice in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But
most dads do. I know I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
good damn room.
Yeah, like when you're mad,
Yeah.
And they were telling me, "Are you mad at your mom now? Like you still want to do this and that?" And I was like, "Oh man, like what the heck?" And then all of a sudden I looked to the right, and I thought the left. In the doorway, the light turned on, and I thought it was my dad, but it was a guy there standing there. He was almost big as the doorway, like I would say a little bigger than me. And he pointed at them, and then boom, they're gone. And I got up, and I was like, "Dad!" And the guy was gone. And I got up and went to go check, and my dad was laying in the bed sleeping. And I told him if he came in the room, and he said no. But it was trippy. But that's when I started realizing, like, if there's demons, there has to be God. You know what I mean? If I really witnessed that, you know what I mean? Like I was really attacked in a lot of ways, and it was scary,
How does your faith feel about like you bird singing and doing things like that? So I know you've always gone out there and danced and do a good job with that. You singing.
Honestly,
are they cool with that, or do they like promote that? Like that's a thing they like.
Okay with that.
That's cool.
They said it's just prayers and songs, like it's praise and worship, basically praise and worship. And there's songs for everything. You know what I mean? We have songs about the past, and we have songs, how do you say them? Social songs?
Yeah.
Social songs and creator songs. They're all to praise him. We made those.
Yeah. That's cool. That's good when they can merge like that. Yeah. Sometimes some faiths, I know some people that are in part of this, different kind of a faith. They're in Jehovah's Witnesses, and they kind of get weird about like being quote unquote worldly. Like if you don't follow just their way, they're very like
they're religious.
Narrow in their what they accept. Everything else kind of gets worldly, and they're kind of like stay away from it. They get very weary with like anything tribal, because they kind of look at it like it's spiritual, and you're kind of starting to get towards demonology type or some kind of thing. They get weird about it.
They're not Christians.
It's a different faith.
They say they have they change the words of the Bible, and they tell you that it's the same thing, but it's not. Because some reason I'd always be I feel a pull towards them all the time, and I go over there and ask them like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like they'd be dressed all nice.
Doesn't ask you, do you hit up other kind of Christians and kind of pick their brains and see where they stand on stuff?
Yeah, I like to see that. You know what I mean? I like to see where people's faiths are at. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and I go over there and talk to him, and that guy wouldn't even pray with me. He said that's against his belief, that they don't pray together, and I was like, what? Like no. And they say the system of things. That's wrong. It's not the system of things. We're all one in the body of Christ because he died for us, but it's the system of things is how they want it. I feel like they just twist the words up.
Sometimes I guess I'd say I'm a non-Christian, but I would look at all of these. I always think of them as kind of like martial arts, like I watch a lot of MMA. So I think of like, they're all the Christianities are like a form of martial arts, like Catholicism being old, it's like the Kung Fu, and it's kind of like, you kind of want to be able to pick and choose from a lot of them, you know what I mean? Like they should mesh, At the end of the day, what works, I guess what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, what works? Like if you're just in that narrow confine of thinking, like just Catholic or just Baptist or just Mormon. I mean, it's like, again, I'm an outsider looking in at these things, but to me it would be like, well, what works? You know what I mean? If it works for you, great. But if it works for you to kind of pick and choose a little bit, I don't know why that would be bad either.
Right, and see, they're religious because they follow a certain order of things. Okay. But when you have a relationship with Christ, it's not like that. When you have things that you're facing, your issues, your problems, he'll give you that wisdom. When you give your burdens to him, all the rest of the things will follow. Yeah. And I was going to tell you it was on the tip of my tongue. Maybe it's not for me to say yet. But
yeah, it'll come out. Let me ask you this, though. When you go around different residents and stuff, you're still in the community and everything.
Yeah.
I see you all over. And like the young heads. You got, I mean, you're young still. You know what I mean? You're 20, but you're not 15 anymore. You're not 16, 17.
Yeah.
You must see some of the young timers like kind of struggling a little bit, trying to figure it out. Do you ever have these conversations with them? Try to
all the time, and they listen. Mostly the little kids.
Okay.
Mostly the little kids because they're interested, and somehow they tell me things that I don't even know about, and I'm like, wow, like that was God speaking through them because they're innocent,
Yeah.
And it says not to hold the kids back from them, and I was tripping out on that, but the little kids follow what the older people do, you know what I mean? Because they don't have no role models like that, and on those reservations, there's not really good role models, and just being honest.
Yeah.
And so they do come to me a lot, I knew them since they were babies, and I'd help them out, and they listen, They're very respectful. A lot of them are. The ones that did follow me.
You see yourself in some of those kids?
I see great things in all of them.
Okay.
Like a lot of, in their own way, in their own way. But there's a lot of distractions and trials that they're going to have to go through before they get to where they're going to be,
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, any kid on any reservation, on any tribe, and even non-tribal members, they're going to do great things. And people will see in life later on,
Yeah.
That we're all born to be prophets and evangelists and all that, but it's up to you in your heart. How much do you want that? How much do you want to do good? You know what I mean? It's a good fight. Because I wanted to see if there was fault in the word. There was no fault. There is no wrong in it. And it tripped me out because I was trying to find that, you know what I mean? But I couldn't. There was no fault because there is no, how do I say, like, I would say just wicked things. There's no wicked things in there,
It's pure, huh?
Yeah, like pure. I mean, test the words. There's nothing bad about them, There's no confusion.
I think that's powerful, man. And like, like I've been saying, it's 2020. Let's get healthy.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to try to run this marathon. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? I've been trying to hit the gym up, and like I say, I always try to do my morning affirmations and sometimes in the evening, during the day even, where I'm reading stuff on like, quotes like I was saying and all that kind of thing. But I truly believe, and it's probably one of those old, like, Indian health, service conferences or something, like a youth conference or something. Somewhere back in the day, I remember somebody put up the old medicine wheel and, the 4 colors and all that. And 4 directions. And they had in there, like, the 4 components of life, kind of, and they were trying to break it down to try to be a well person or a healthy person. And some of these concepts at that time, I was a young teenager. You don't think about that stuff, you're just living. But I remember seeing it, and they were talking about like your mental strength. Like you have to work on your mind. That's educating yourself. That's trying not to overstress yourself. You have to go decompress at times. That's why I say go for a walk, a hike. That's good. You get your chemicals going. The other part of it is the physical side of it. Obviously you want to stay away from the drugs, the alcohol, and stuff like that if you can help it. And you want to try to eat right. The diabetes is killing our people, high blood pressure, heart problems. And then it's like obviously exercise. We got to exercise. And it's like, and then there's the other one, of course, is like your spiritual well-being also, you have to feed your spiritual well-being, whatever that is, your spirituality. And I don't know, I just, all of that, like that being, the idea of kind of like there's different components to a well person. Because I think people just think, I want to get well, I'm going to not get sick, I'm going to eat good, and I'll work out, and I'm well. But it's like, that's part of it. But there's the other part. There's the part about intellectually feeding yourself. Right. You want to. The emotional side was the 4th, I believe, they had on that. To check your emotions and stuff. But to kind of take that spirituality chunk in your life and try to feed that in some way. I think that's a component that's missing in a lot of youth.
Yeah.
And especially in our native communities, like you're talking about, a lot of families. They have alcoholism in the family. They have drug abuse in the family. They have sexual molestation or, addictions and all of this crazy stuff in the family. And meanwhile, we as a people are strengthening ourselves economically and all these different things, healthy and wellness and all that. And families are trying to strengthen themselves, But at the same time, it's like, well, who are the ones that are susceptible and who are the ones that are in a position of not knowing and who are the ones or who are like maybe the most delicate? And those are the youth. The kids are. They don't understand what's going on, but they're seeing this negative social behavior, and it's very it's damaging, but it becomes their norm, and they don't know how to deal with that. They're trying to find a way to deal with that, and so we put them in sports, and that's good. It keeps them healthy, it gets them something to do. We get them sometimes in a culture and things like that. We want them to do well at school, maybe push them on school, do your grades and stuff. But I just sometimes feel like that spiritual connection sometimes gets lost. And we're trying to build whole kids. And because if you have that hole missing, then they try to fill it, that void, with something, whether, like you were saying earlier, like, we go smoke out a little bit, what I mean? We're going to do this, go do that. I don't know. I just sometimes think some of these kids, they go down some of these roads because they're missing something, they're there's a void they're trying to fill. And spiritually, I think you can fill a lot of those voids, man.
Yeah, I found it in Jesus, honestly. Like, for example, I felt like I had no family. In church, they loved me, you know what I mean? They just took care of me, you know what I mean? They helped me out, and I get more love for them than my own family, to be honest with you. But that's not a reason why I started going to church, you know what I mean? It was just a plus to it, But it was because I was looking for something, but I didn't know what it was, you know what I mean? At that time, I didn't, when I was younger. But I know right from wrong. Like, I could see black and white from it, you know what I mean? And just going there and just seeing that and where I am, my grandma's a Christian. She was actually a Catholic, and she went to church out in India out that way. But she is a Christian now, and she comes to church and stuff. But just hearing, like, people and their testimonies in Christ, you know what I mean, inspired me and just made me think, like, wow, like, if he did that for them, maybe he could do it for me, And I like to tell kids my testimony, starting off when I was drinking with my sister and I crashed, you know what I mean? In that time, I always wanted to go to church. I just felt it, like, I want to go to church on Sunday, but I never went. Instead, I was partying on a Saturday, And that path took me nowhere. It took me nowhere. I was fighting with my family even more, it just took me nowhere. I should have been working. I should have been focusing on getting something going for myself. Instead, I just chose smoking weed and running around on the res doing nothing, and thinking I was all that. And I wasn't, And so when I crashed my car that night, I had a feeling in my heart that I was supposed to go, you know what I mean? And a hawk flew past my car in front of me like that, a red-tailed hawk. And I knew something was up, and because my grandpa, he was a medicine man, but his animal was like a hawk. And he had this suit that was all hawk feathers. So to me, it was like him kind of guiding me. I felt like that. And yeah, because how you say the ancestors, they do guide us. They do guide us. But not like how God does. Not like how Jesus does. But where I'm going with this is I went down a path like that. And it didn't take me nowhere. I started working in dispensary, thinking I'm going to make millions of dollars, and which I was. I was not making millions, but like good money. You know what I mean? I was making good money. And there I still wasn't happy, and I was selling weed to my cousins and just seeing how that it wasn't helping them, you know what I mean? It was just like I was being a negative impact, and so I was like, man, like I got to change something here, and I was going to school, I dropped out of school for a dispensary that I don't work at no more. I do tile work now and like home renovation and all that, but I dropped that for Christ. Just through my life, seeing what I did and going what I go through, like I lived in a small trailer in La Jolla with no water, no shower, no nothing. None of my family would let me shower or eat at their house, nothing. And there was few people there that would come and bring me food. Like I would pray, like, "Hey Lord, I'm hungry," and then boom, out of nowhere, my cousin Tiffany pops up and is like, "Here, I got you some food." I'm like, "What?" I just prayed for that, and I didn't tell her that. I was just like, "Thank you," and I sat there and ate my food. And I'm like, "Dang, now I'm thirsty." These are just some examples. And she's like, "Hey, I got you something to drink too." Right after that, and I was like, "Wow, like what the heck?" So I knew I was taken care of the whole time. I was going through a bad path, and where I'm at now, I'm doing tile work. I'm possibly going to be owning the company, and we're starting like a little clothing company line and stuff.
That's pretty cool, man. Let's go with that. What does that say?
This one's Belly Boy.
Belly Boy.
Yeah, I have another one too. It's called Root Deep Entertainment.
Okay.
My dad and I started that one. Yeah, we started off just from a logo, and some guy out in LA told us to make it.
Yeah.
He said he'd make us our first batch for free.
Nice, man. That's pretty cool. Belly. What's on the sleeve right there? We say Belly Boy. Same thing.
Belly Boy too.
Nice, man. Where can they find out right now? It's got to hit you up directly, or you got a spot for that yet?
We'll be hitting the powwows up pretty soon.
All right,
Bring
man.
Con and all them know what's up ready with it.
All right, man. Hitting the powwows up. Look for Belly Boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good to have you here, man. You know, if
Thank
there
you
was
for having
something
me.
that you had to say to everybody, what would it be, man? What's your message to the world, man?
One love, you know. Take care of each other, no matter who it is. And if you're angry at someone, forgive them. You only live once. You know that might be your best friend one day. Um, just keep praying and whichever you're searching for in life, keep go for it. You know, life's short. Get what you want in life. Make sure you enjoy your walk in life at least. You know, whatever burdens come your way, just look past them and just look for the best because I'm pretty sure you look better in the future than you do now.
I like it, man. You know, and I hope to have you back sometime. You know, talk about these things when you get your clothing line further down the way too. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, we'll be seeing that at all the gatherings this year. That's pretty cool.
We'll get you on one of these pretty soon too.
Yeah,
Next
man. But I
time.
think your message is important, man. It's powerful, and like I was saying, a lot of people have different faiths and different beliefs or religions or whatever. But
Yeah, whatever it is,
but
the main thing is just unity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just
I like it.
unity.
I feel it, man. One love, Be
Yeah.
positive, Let's try to
Yeah.
talk to one another. Let's try to put good words towards each other, build each other up, promote each other, man.
Yeah.
I like it. One love. With that, here's John in the house, and we are live from the Res. Thanks a lot, man.